I was reviewing our quarterly profits when my doorbell rang. Through the security camera, I saw my mother, Patricia, standing on my porch with two teenagers I barely recognized. I hadn't seen her in 22 years. Not since she threw me out at 13 to focus on her new family. My finger hovered over the intercom as memories flooded back. Sleeping in my car at 15. Working 3 jobs to finish high school. Clawing through community college. Now she stood at my $1 million home in suburban Atlanta, and I knew exactly what she wanted. I opened the door against every instinct, screaming at me to walk away. Patricia's face broke into this massive smile, like we were old friends meeting after a pleasant separation instead of a mother who dumped her child at a youth shelter with 2 garbage bags and $50. "Honey," she said, pulling me into a hug I didn't return. "You look so successful. These are your siblings, Emma and Dylan." The girl, Emma, looked about 17 with light brown hair pulled back in a ponytail. She gave me a shy wave. Dylan, taller and lankier at maybe 19, nodded awkwardly. Neither looked particularly happy to be there. Patricia didn't wait for an invitation. She walked right past me into my foyer, her heels clicking on the marble tile. "Oh my goodness, Harrison. This place is gorgeous. You've done so well for yourself." I stood there holding the door, watching her examine my house like she was a potential buyer at an open showing. Dylan and Emma shuffled in behind her, both looking uncomfortable. "What do you want, Patricia?" I said. I couldn't bring myself to call her mom. That word died somewhere between the youth shelter and the group home where I spent my 14th birthday alone. She turned to face me, her hand on her chest like I'd wounded her. "Can't a mother visit her son? I've missed you so much." The lie was so obvious it almost made me laugh. 22 years without a single phone call, letter, or birthday card. Not one attempt to find me, check on me, or see if I was even alive. But now, standing in my custom-built home with its vaulted ceilings and expensive furniture, suddenly she'd missed me. "Let's sit down," she said, making herself comfortable on my leather couch. "We need to talk about family." I remained standing, arms crossed. "Whatever you want, the answer is no." Patricia's smile faltered just slightly. "You don't even know what I'm going to say." "I know enough." Emma spoke up for the first time, her voice small. "We got accepted to college. I'm going to Emory, and Dylan got into Georgia Tech." "Congratulations," I said, meaning it. They were just kids. Whatever Patricia was planning, they were probably pawns like I'd been. Patricia jumped back in, her tone shifting to something practiced, like she'd rehearsed this. "That's wonderful news, isn't it? But here's the thing, sweetheart. Gerald lost his job 6 months ago. He was a regional sales manager for 15 years, and they just let him go. Our savings are completely depleted. We've been struggling just to keep the lights on." I said nothing, waiting for the punchline. "Both schools are expensive," Patricia continued. "Between tuition, room and board, books, everything. We're looking at about $200,000 over 4 years. We've applied for financial aid, but we just don't qualify for enough. The kids worked so hard, Harrison. They deserve this chance. And you want me to pay for it. Your family," she said. "Like that explained everything. You're their brother. And look at what you've built. This house alone must be worth $2 million. You have that software company. You're doing so well and we're drowning. It's only right that you help." I felt anger rising in my chest, hot and familiar. "Only right? You want to talk about what's right?" Patricia's eyes narrowed slightly. "I know you're upset about the past, but that was different. Gerald and I were struggling. We had 2 babies and barely any money. We couldn't afford 3 kids. You were almost a teenager. You could take care of yourself. You drove me to a shelter," I said, my voice shaking. "I was 13 years old. You packed my clothes in trash bags, gave me $50, and dropped me off like I was a donation to Goodwill." Dylan and Emma both looked at their mother, surprise evident on their faces. Clearly, they'd been told a different version of events. "It wasn't like that," Patricia said quickly. "The shelter was temporary. We were going to come back for you once we got on our feet. You never came back. I spent 2 years bouncing between group homes and foster families. Some of them were okay. Some of them were nightmares. I got emancipated at 15, and lived in a beat-up Toyota Camry in a Walmart parking lot. I worked at a 24-hour diner from midnight to 8 in the morning, then did warehouse shifts on weekends, then picked up odd jobs fixing computers for cash. I put myself through community college taking night classes while working full-time. I transferred to Georgia State and graduated with a degree in business and computer science while working 80-hour weeks. Everything I have, I built alone. You don't get to show up now and claim any part of it. Patricia stood up, her fake sweetness evaporating. You're being selfish. They're your family. They're strangers, I said. And you're not my family. You made that clear when I was 13. Her face transformed, anger replacing the mask she'd been wearing. Fine. You want to be like that? Let me show you something. She pulled out her phone, swiped a few times, and held it up to my face. On the screen was a video. My girlfriend Jade appeared, standing behind the counter at the coffee shop she managed. The timestamp said yesterday, around 3 in the afternoon. In the video, Patricia approached Jade with a concerned expression. Are you Jade? Harrison's girlfriend? Jade smiled. Yes, that's me. Can I help you? I'm Patricia, Harrison's mother. I need to talk to you about something very serious. My stomach dropped as I watched Patricia launch into a completely fabricated story. She told Jade that I had a daughter from a previous relationship, a girl who was now 15. She said I'd abandoned this child, refused to pay child support, and wouldn't even acknowledge her existence. Patricia's voice trembled with false emotion as she described this fictional teenager who supposedly cried herself to sleep wondering why her father didn't love her. Jade's smile disappeared. She looked genuinely shocked and hurt. That can't be true, Harrison would have told me. Patricia shook her head sadly. He's very good at hiding things. I just thought you should know what kind of man you're involved with. A man who could abandon his own child is capable of anything. The video ended with Jade looking devastated and confused. Patricia lowered her phone and smiled at me, but there was nothing warm about it anymore. That's a complete lie, I said. You know I don't have a daughter. I've never had children. But Jade doesn't know that, Patricia said. And I was very convincing. I've already planted the seeds of doubt in her mind. Now, here's what's going to happen. You're going to pay for Emma and Dylan's college education. All of it. $200,000. If you don't, I'll send this video to everyone. Your business partners, your clients, your employees. I'll tell them all that you're a deadbeat father who abandoned his child and lied about it. I'll destroy your reputation and your relationship. Your choice, Harrison. Dylan spoke up, his voice uncertain. Mom, what are you doing? Hush, Patricia snapped at him. Adults are talking. Emma looked like she wanted to disappear into the couch cushions. I pulled out my own phone, my hands shaking. This is blackmail. I'm calling the police. Go ahead, Patricia said calmly. Tell them that your mother is trying to get you to help pay for your siblings' education. See how that sounds. And even if they investigate, by the time the truth comes out, the damage will be done. Once people hear you abandoned a child, they'll never look at you the same way, even if it's proven false later. Rumors stick, Harrison. You know that. She was right, and she knew it. In today's world, an accusation alone could destroy everything I'd built. My software company had contracts with 3 Fortune 500 companies. My reputation was everything. If clients thought I was the kind of person who'd abandon a child, they'd drop me instantly. I need time to think, I said. You have until Monday, Patricia said. That's 6 days. Wire transfer instructions will be sent to your email. Come on, kids. Let's go get some dinner. Harrison's buying. She grabbed my wallet off the entry table where I'd left it and pulled out my credit card before I could stop her. Then she walked out like she owned the place. Emma and Dylan trailing behind her looking miserable. After they left, I tried calling Jade immediately. It went straight to voicemail. I texted her, please call me. Patricia is lying. I can explain everything. She didn't respond. I paced my house for 3 hours, trying to figure out what to do. Every option seemed worse than the last. If I paid, Patricia would own me forever. If I didn't pay, she'd destroy everything I'd worked for. I was trapped, and she knew it. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. You should have been nicer to your mother. See you Monday. Sweet dreams. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, I drove to Java Junction, the coffee shop Jade managed in Midtown Atlanta. It was a Saturday, which meant she'd be working the opening shift. I got there at 7, right when they unlocked the doors. Jade saw me through the window before I even walked in. Her expression was guarded, not the warm smile I usually got. That look hit me harder than Patricia's threats. I walked up to the counter. She was wiping down the espresso machine, not meeting my eyes. "Can we talk?" I said. "I'm working." "Please, Jade." 5 minutes. She glanced at her coworker, a college kid named Brian who was setting up the pastry case. "Cover for me," she said, then walked to a corner table without checking to see if I followed. I sat across from her. She folded her arms and waited. "Whatever Patricia told you is a complete lie," I started. "I don't have a daughter. I've never had children. I would have told you if I did." "She called herself your mother," Jade said quietly. "She knew things about you. She knew where you grew up, details about your childhood. She even showed me a picture of a little girl. She said her name was Sophie." I felt sick. Patricia had gone far enough to create a fake identity for this fictional child. How far back did this plan go? "That picture is fake," I said. "It has to be. Jade, you know me. We've been together 8 months. Have I ever lied to you? Have I ever hidden anything?" "You never talk about your family," she said. "You always change the subject when I ask. Maybe there's a reason for that." "There is a reason. My mother abandoned me when I was 13. She threw me out to focus on her new family. I haven't seen her in over 20 years until yesterday. She showed up demanding I pay for her other kids' college. When I said no, she threatened to ruin my life with lies. She's blackmailing me, Jade. That's who she is." Jade's expression softened slightly. "If that's true, why didn't you tell me about her before?" "Because I spent 20 years trying to forget she existed. Because talking about being abandoned by your own mother isn't exactly first date conversation. Because I was ashamed." The word hung between us. I'd never admitted that out loud before. Jade reached across the table and touched my hand. "If she's lying, prove it. Show me your birth certificate, school records, something that shows you don't have a daughter." "I will. I'll get every document I can find. But Jade, I need you to trust me until then. Patricia is counting on driving us apart. Don't let her win." Jade pulled her hand back. "I want to believe you, Harrison. I really do." But she seemed so sincere. She was crying when she talked about that little girl. Either she's telling the truth, or she's an incredible actress. "She's a professional liar," I said. "Please, just give me a few days to prove it." Jade stood up. "I need some space to think. Don't call me for a while, okay? I'll reach out when I'm ready." She walked back to the counter, leaving me sitting alone in the corner. I watched her make a latte for a customer, her movements mechanical. I wanted to say more, to make her understand, but I knew pushing would only make it worse. I left and drove home, my chest tight with anxiety. As I pulled into my driveway, I noticed something wrong immediately. Patricia's car, a beat-up Honda Civic, was parked in front of my garage. My front door was standing open. I ran inside and found Patricia in my kitchen making breakfast. Emma and Dylan were sitting at my dining table eating pancakes. 3 suitcases were stacked in my hallway. "What are you doing?" I demanded. "Making the kids breakfast," Patricia said cheerfully. "We stayed at a motel last night, but it was awful. Bed bugs. Can you imagine? So I figured we'd just stay here until you pay up. You have plenty of room. You can't just move into my house." "Sure I can. You haven't changed your garage code since you posted about it on social media 3 years ago." "Very careless, Harrison. You really should be more careful about online security." She'd broken into my house. I pulled out my phone. "I'm calling the police." Patricia didn't even flinch. "Go ahead. But while you're on the phone with them, I'll be on the phone with Marcus Webb." My hand froze. "How do you know that name?" "I know lots of things," she said, flipping a pancake. "I know Marcus Webb is the CEO of TechCorp Solutions. I know his company represents 40% of your annual revenue. I know he's very particular about the character of the people he does business with. And I know his personal email address." She pulled out her phone and showed me a draft email. The subject line read, "Important character information about Harrison Fletcher. The body of the email was carefully worded to suggest impropriety without making specific accusations, designed to raise concerns and plant doubts. "You wouldn't," I said. "Try me." Patricia hit the call button on her phone. It rang on speaker. "This is Marcus Webb's office," a voice answered. Then Patricia hung up. "Just checking to make sure I had the right number," she said to me. "Now, are we going to have a problem? Or are you going to be a good host?" Emma pushed her plate away. "Mom, this is wrong. We should go." "We're staying," Patricia said firmly. "Harrison wants us here. Don't you, Harrison?" I felt my options shrinking by the second. If I called the cops, she'd destroy my business relationship with Marcus. If I didn't, she'd be living in my house, controlling my life. "Fine," I said. "But you're staying in the guest rooms. Don't touch anything else." "Of course," Patricia said sweetly. "We're family. This is what families do." I went upstairs to my office and locked the door. My hands were shaking as I searched online for lawyers who handled extortion cases. I found a firm that specialized in family law disputes and criminal defense. I sent them an email explaining the situation and asking for an emergency consultation. Then I searched for private investigators in Atlanta. I needed to know everything about Patricia, her husband Gerald, what they'd been doing for the past 20 years. If she had vulnerabilities, I needed to find them. I was about to make more calls when my phone rang. It was Trevor, my business partner. "Did you see the news?" he said without preamble. "What news?" "Check your email. Marcus Webb's assistant just sent a meeting request. Says Marcus wants to discuss concerns about our partnership." "Harrison, what's going on?" "I'll explain later," I said. "When's the meeting?" "End of the week. Friday at 2. That gave me 5 days. 5 days before Patricia's Monday deadline. 5 days before Marcus could potentially terminate our contract. I heard a knock on my office door. "Harrison," Patricia called through the door. "I need your credit card again. The kids need some things from the store." I didn't answer. I sat at my desk and tried to think of a way out of this nightmare. But every path I could see led to destruction. By Wednesday morning, I'd lost 12 pounds and hadn't slept more than 2 hours a night since Patricia invaded my home. She'd made herself completely comfortable, rearranging my furniture, filling my refrigerator with food bought on my dime, and treating my house like a vacation rental. But that morning, I finally caught a break. Carolyn Fletcher, the private investigator I'd hired, called with her initial findings. "We need to meet in person," she said. "I found some things you need to see." I met her at a diner, 20 minutes outside the city, somewhere Patricia wouldn't think to look for me. Carolyn was in her mid-50s, a former Atlanta police detective who'd gone private after 20 years on the force. She had a reputation for being thorough and discreet. She slid a manila folder across the table. "Your mother has a pattern," she said. I opened the folder. Inside were printed documents, photographs, and what looked like legal filings. 5 years ago, Carolyn explained, Patricia tracked down her sister. "Your aunt, Jennifer Thompson. Jennifer is a successful dentist in Savannah." Patricia showed up claiming she was desperate, needed money for medical bills. When Jennifer hesitated, Patricia threatened to file false complaints with the state dental licensing board, claiming Jennifer had committed malpractice on her. There was no malpractice, but Patricia had researched enough to make the threats sound credible. Jennifer paid her $80,000 to go away. I stared at the documents. My aunt. I didn't even know I had an aunt. "There's more," Carolyn said. "I found 2 other potential victims. A cousin in Florida who paid Patricia $30,000 3 years ago. Another distant relative in Tennessee who gave her $25,000 2 years ago. Your mother is a professional extortionist. She finds successful family members, researches their lives, and then blackmails them with threats tailored to each person's specific vulnerabilities. Can we prove this?" Carolyn nodded. "I spoke with your Aunt Jennifer off the record. She's willing to testify if it comes to that. The cousin in Florida is also willing to talk. We have bank records showing the transfers. We can build a solid case." Hope flickered in my chest for the first time in days. "What about the college acceptances? Are those even real?" "They're real," Carolyn said. "But here's the interesting part." She pulled out more documents. Both Emma and Dylan received substantial financial aid packages. Emma got a partial academic scholarship to Emory that covers 60% of tuition. Dylan has grants covering almost 70% of Georgia Tech's costs. The actual out-of-pocket expense for both kids would be maybe $70,000 over 4 years, not $200,000. Patricia lied about the financial aid. More than that. She forged rejection letters from the financial aid offices. I confirmed with both schools. The kids applied, got accepted, and received legitimate aid packages. But Patricia intercepted the real letters and showed the kids fake ones claiming they'd been denied. Emma and Dylan have no idea they actually have scholarships. Why would she do that? Because 200,000 sounds desperate. 70,000 sounds manageable. She inflated the crisis to maximize what she could extract from you. The kids are just props in her con. I felt sick. What about Gerald? Her husband? Carolyn's expression darkened. Gerald Davis. That's another mess. He didn't just lose his job. He was fired from Riverside Medical Supplies 6 months ago for embezzlement. He stole $37,000 from the company over a 2-year period. They have documentation, surveillance footage, everything. The company initially didn't want to press charges, but Gerald refused to sign a repayment agreement, so they filed a police report. There's an active investigation. The district attorney is building a case. Patricia knows about this? She has to. Which means she's desperate for money not just for college, but to hire a defense attorney for Gerald. Maybe even to flee if charges are filed. Your money isn't about helping the kids. It's about saving Gerald and herself. I sat back in the booth, processing everything. Can I use this? Can I go to Patricia with this information and make her back off? You can try, Carolyn said carefully. But be prepared for her to escalate. People like your mother don't respond well to being cornered. They usually get more dangerous. I don't care. I'm done being afraid of her. That afternoon, I drove back to my house, armed with Carolyn's folder. Patricia was in my living room watching television. Emma and Dylan were upstairs in their rooms. I dropped the folder on the coffee table in front of her. I know everything, I said. Patricia glanced at the folder but didn't open it. Know what? I know about Aunt Jennifer. About the cousin in Florida. About the relative in Tennessee. I know you've been extorting family members for years. I have proof. I also know Emma and Dylan have substantial financial aid. I know you forged rejection letters. And I know Gerald is under investigation for embezzlement. Patricia's face went very still. You've been busy. Leave now, I said. Take your kids and get out. If you don't, I'm going to the police with everything I have. You'll be arrested for extortion and fraud. For a long moment, Patricia just looked at me. Then she smiled, and it was the coldest smile I'd ever seen. You think you're smart, she said. You think you've figured everything out. But you're forgetting something important, Harrison. I'm always 3 steps ahead. She pulled out her own folder from beside the couch. Inside was a legal document. It looked official, with a notary seal and everything. This is an affidavit signed by Gerald, she said. It states that you called him 2 days ago and made terroristic threats. You threatened to burn down our house with us inside it if we didn't leave you alone. I never called Gerald. I've never even spoken to him. That's your word against his sworn statement. She pulled out more papers. And these are copies of emails you sent me. Very disturbing emails where you threatened violence against me and the children. I moved closer and looked at the printed emails. They were from my email address, threatening horrible things. But I'd never sent them. Those are fake, I said. I never sent those. Prove it. By the time you get your email provider to release metadata and timestamps, the damage will be done. I file a police report with these documents. You get arrested. Your mugshot goes online. Every news outlet in Atlanta runs the story. Millionaire tech, entrepreneur, threatens to kill family. Your business dies before the truth comes out. Even when you're cleared, people will always wonder. And Marcus Webb will definitely terminate your contract. You can't do this. I already did it. The documents are ready to file. 1 phone call and you're done. She leaned back on my couch, perfectly calm. So here's the new deal. You wanted to play hardball? Fine. The price just went up. I want $250,000. That's $200,000 for college plus $50,000 for Gerald's legal fees and our emotional distress. Cash. You have 48 hours. The timeline had shrunk. The amount had increased. And now I had even more to lose. You're insane, I said. No, she said. I'm a survivor. You should understand that, Harrison. We're not so different, you and me. We both do whatever it takes to get what we need. We're nothing alike. Keep telling yourself that. 48 hours. I'll text you the account information. I walked out of my own living room feeling like I was suffocating. Carolyn had been right. Patricia didn't back down when cornered. She escalated. That night, I sat in my car in a parking garage for 3 hours trying to figure out what to do. Every option felt impossible. If I paid, I'd lose my self-respect, and Patricia would be back for more. If I didn't pay, she'd file those false police reports and I'd be arrested. Even if I was eventually cleared, my business would be destroyed, and my relationship with Jade was already hanging by a thread. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Patricia. 47 hours and 30 minutes. Sleep tight. I didn't go home that night. I checked into a hotel and tried to think. But no matter how many angles I examined, I kept reaching the same conclusion. Patricia was going to win. By Friday morning, I was at my absolute lowest point. I'd barely eaten in days. My clothes hung loose on my frame. Trevor had been calling constantly, worried about the meeting with Marcus Webb that afternoon. Jade still wasn't returning my messages, and Patricia's deadline was now just over 24 hours away. Trevor finally cornered me at the office 2 hours before the Marcus Webb meeting. He shut my office door and sat down across from my desk. "Talk to me," he said. "What's happening? You look like death, and you're acting like someone preparing for the end of the world." I broke. I told him everything. About Patricia showing up, the blackmail, the threats, the fake emails, the false affidavit, all of it. Trevor listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each detail. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Pay her." "What?" "Pay her the money. $250,000 is nothing compared to what you'll lose if she goes through with her threats. Your company is worth millions. Marcus Webb's contract alone generates over $2 million annually. You'll lose that plus every other client if you get arrested, even if the charges are bogus. Pay her. Make her go away, and move on with your life. If I pay her, she'll be back for more. She'll never stop." "Maybe," Trevor said, "but you'll buy yourself time to build a better defense. Right now, you're in crisis mode. You're not thinking clearly. Pay her. Get her out of your house. Then work with your investigator and your lawyer to build a case against her. But do it from a position of strength, not while you're being actively destroyed." He was right, and I hated that he was right. Paying Patricia went against everything in me, but the alternative was losing everything. "What about Jade?" I said. "She's not even talking to me." "One crisis at a time," Trevor said. "Deal with Patricia, then fix things with Jade." The meeting with Marcus Webb was a disaster. Marcus was polite but distant. He mentioned vague rumors about my personal character, questions that had been raised about my business ethics. He didn't say where the rumors came from, but I knew. Patricia had gotten to him somehow. Marcus didn't terminate the contract outright, but he put our next project phase on hold. That phase was worth $5 million. He said he needed time to review our partnership to make sure everything was above board. I left the meeting knowing I was hanging by a thread. When I got home, Patricia was waiting. She saw my face and smiled. "Bad meeting?" she asked. I sat down heavily on my couch. "I'll pay you," I said. "Smart choice. But I have conditions. You take the money and you disappear. You never contact me again. You don't tell anyone about this payment. You don't ever come back for more." "Of course," Patricia said, but something in her tone made me uneasy. "I want it in writing." "Fine. I'll sign whatever you want." I spent the rest of the evening working with my lawyer to draft a simple agreement. Patricia would receive $250,000 in exchange for releasing all claims against me and agreeing to no future contact. My lawyer warned me the document wouldn't hold up in court if she violated it, but it was better than nothing. Patricia signed it without hesitation. Too easily. The next morning, Saturday, I went to my bank. The manager was concerned about the large withdrawal and tried to talk me out of it, worried I was being scammed. I lied and said it was for a real estate investment. The wire transfer was approved. I sent Patricia the account information. Within an hour, she confirmed receipt. "Pleasure doing business with you," she texted. Then, "Thank you for being a good brother to Emma and Dylan." I sat in my car outside the bank, staring at my phone. It was done. I'd paid her. $250,000 gone. The same amount it had taken me 5 years to save when I was building my company. I felt hollowed out, defeated. I called Patricia's number to confirm she'd be leaving my house today as agreed. "About that," she said when she answered. "I've been thinking." "No. We had a deal." "We did. And I kept my end. I received the money. But here's the thing, Harrison. This payment you just made? It's actually going to be very useful." "What are you talking about?" "Think about it. You just voluntarily sent me a massive amount of money. That's documented now, which means I can prove you've been financially supporting us. Why would you do that unless you felt some obligation? Unless maybe you've been helping us all along and this is just the latest payment? You're twisting it." "No, I'm interpreting it. And here's how I'm going to interpret it to a family court judge. You've been providing financial support for Emma and Dylan for years. You acknowledged your family responsibility, but now you're trying to back out. So I'm going to sue you for ongoing child support, $5,000 a month. And I'll use this wire transfer as proof that you've established a financial relationship with us. They're not my children, but you just gave me money for their college. That suggests you accept some level of responsibility. Let a judge sort it out. Even if I lose, the case will take years. And during that time, your reputation will be shredded. Tech millionaire sued by struggling mother trying to provide for her kids. The press will love it." I couldn't breathe. "You said you'd go away." "I said I'd sign your paper. I signed it. But contracts can be challenged. And I'm really good at finding loopholes. You can't do this. Watch me. The first child support payment is due in 30 days. I'll send you an invoice. Oh, and Harrison? I'm keeping the guest rooms. We really like it here." She hung up. I sat in that parking lot and completely broke down. I'd paid her everything she'd asked for and somehow made my situation worse. She now had documentation that I'd given her money, which she could spin however she wanted. And she was still in my house. I'd lost the money. I was still being extorted. Marcus Webb was reviewing our contract. Jade wouldn't talk to me. And Patricia was right where she wanted to be. I called Carolyn Fletcher and told her what happened. There was a long silence. "Harrison," she said finally, "you just made this a lot harder to prove as extortion. By paying her, you gave her ammunition. A good defense attorney could argue you paid voluntarily, that there was no coercion." "I wasn't thinking straight," I said. "I just wanted her gone." "I know. But we need to regroup. Don't communicate with her anymore. Don't pay another dollar. Let me dig deeper. There has to be something we can use." I drove to a grocery store parking lot and just sat there for hours. People came and went with their normal lives, their normal problems. And I sat in my car feeling like I'd lost everything that mattered. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I opened it without thinking. It was a photo. A picture of Jade at her coffee shop, taken through the window. No message, just the photo. Patricia was letting me know she was watching everyone in my life. Nowhere was safe. I put my head on the steering wheel and tried to remember the person I'd been a week ago. The confident, successful man who'd overcome every obstacle life had thrown at him. That person felt like a stranger now. Patricia had broken me completely. And she wasn't done yet. Sunday afternoon, my phone rang from an unknown local number. I almost didn't answer, assuming it was another one of Patricia's games. But something made me pick up. "Harrison?" The voice was young, male, uncertain. "Yeah, it's Dylan, your brother. Can you meet me? I need to talk to you. Please." He gave me the address of a gas station near the perimeter. I drove there in a daze, not sure what to expect. Dylan was waiting by the air pump, looking nervous and constantly checking over his shoulder. "Get in," I said, unlocking my passenger door. He climbed in and immediately said, "Drive somewhere." She might have followed me. I pulled out and headed toward a diner I knew in Dunwoody. far enough from my house that Patricia wouldn't think to look. Neither of us spoke until we were sitting in a corner booth with coffee neither of us wanted. Dylan looked like he might be sick. His hands were shaking as he wrapped them around his mug. "I've known for years that my mom is a liar," he said. "Since I was 15, maybe younger. I used to think it was just little things. Stuff to make herself look better. But then I started paying attention." "When did you find out about me?" I asked. 3 years ago. I was looking through some old boxes in the garage and found papers with your name on them. Birth certificate, school records, stuff like that. I asked Mom about you, and she said you ran away when you were a teenager because you hated us. Said you were selfish and cruel. I wasn't surprised. Of course, Patricia would make me the villain. But then I looked you up online," Dylan continued. "Found your company website, some articles about your business. You didn't look like the person she described, so I started keeping notes, writing down the things she said that didn't add up." He pulled out his phone and opened a voice memo app. "I've been recording her for the past 2 years. Conversations where she's planning scams, lying to people, stuff like that. I have everything, Harrison. Everything she's done to you, she's done to other people. And I've documented it. Why didn't you come forward sooner?" "Because she controls everything." Dylan's voice cracked. "My college fund, which I now know is financial aid she's been hiding. My car is in her name. My phone is on her plan. She told me if I ever crossed her, she'd destroy my future. She has connections. Gerald's cousin works in financial aid at 3 different universities. Mom said she could make sure I never got into college anywhere. She could block me from loans, from grants, from everything. I was too scared. But you're here now, because I can't watch this anymore. What she's doing to you, it's evil. You're a good person. You didn't deserve what she did to you as a kid, and you don't deserve this now." He played me one of the recordings. It was Patricia's voice, crystal clear, talking to Gerald about the plan to blackmail me. She laid out every detail. The fake daughter's story to tell Jade, the forged emails, the false affidavit. She even laughed about how easy it was to manipulate me. "I have 26 recordings like that," Dylan said, "all backed up on 3 different cloud services she doesn't know about. This could save me." "Why are you doing this?" "Because you're my brother, and because someone needs to stop her before she ruins more lives." There were tears in his eyes. I realized how much courage this took, how much he was risking. "What about Emma?" I asked. "Does she know?" "Not everything. Emma thinks Mom is just trying to reconnect with you, that you're being difficult. But Emma's starting to ask questions. She saw how upset you looked when you agreed to pay, and she asked me if something was wrong. I think Emma would help if she knew the truth. Can you tell her?" "I can try." We spent the next hour making a plan. Dylan would go back and act normal. He'd keep recording if Patricia said anything else incriminating. He'd talk to Emma and see if she could be brought into our confidence. Meanwhile, I'd take the recordings to my lawyer and see if they were enough to build a case. For the first time in over a week, I felt like I had an ally. Someone on my side who understood what Patricia really was. I dropped Dylan back at the gas station. He was about to get out when he paused. "I'm sorry for what she did to you," he said. "When you were 13. That was wrong. You deserved better. It's not your fault. I know. But I'm still sorry." He got out and walked to his beat-up Honda. I watched him drive away, hoping I hadn't just put him in danger. That evening, I forwarded the recordings to Raymond Torres, the lawyer Carolyn had recommended. Raymond called me an hour later. "This is good," he said. "Really good. This proves intent, premeditation, conspiracy. With Dylan willing to testify and these recordings as evidence, we can press charges for extortion, fraud, possibly even RICO if we can prove a pattern of organized criminal activity against multiple victims. What about the money I paid her? We can sue to recover it, plus damages for emotional distress and defamation. But Harrison, I need to be honest with you. The criminal case is stronger than the civil case. Your voluntary payment complicates things. But with these recordings, we can still make a compelling argument that you were coerced. When can we move? I need a few days to prepare everything properly. We'll also need to coordinate with the district attorney's office since this involves multiple felonies. And I want to make sure Dylan is protected. If we move too fast and Patricia catches wind, she might retaliate against him. I understand. Sit tight. Don't communicate with Patricia. Don't pay her another dollar. Let me build the case. I hung up, feeling cautiously hopeful. Maybe this wasn't over yet. But then my phone exploded with notifications. Text messages, emails, voicemails, all flooding in at once. My stomach dropped as I opened the first one. It was from Trevor. What is going on? Check the news. I pulled up the Atlanta Journal-Constitution website and saw the headline, Local Tech CEO Sued by Mother for Abandonment and Fraud. Patricia had filed her lawsuit, not just against me personally, but against my company. She was claiming I owed her $300,000 in consultation fees for business advice she supposedly gave me years ago when I was starting my company. It was completely fictitious, but it was public record now, and attached to the lawsuit was a press release. Patricia had somehow gotten it distributed to multiple news outlets. The press release painted her as a struggling mother seeking justice from her millionaire son who'd built his fortune on her ideas and then abandoned his family. The story was already spreading online. Local news websites had picked it up. Twitter was full of people condemning me based on Patricia's version of events. Someone had posted my home address. My business website was crashing from angry traffic. Trevor called. Our reviews are being bombed, he said, panic in his voice. We've gotten 200 one-star reviews in the last hour from people who saw the press release. And Marcus Webb's assistant just emailed. Marcus is terminating the contract immediately. He doesn't want to be associated with this controversy. I felt everything crumbling in real time. No, I said. No. What do we do, Harrison? I don't know. Another call was coming through. It was Raymond Torres. Patricia just went nuclear, he said. This is a scorched earth strategy. She knows she's going to lose eventually, so she's trying to burn down everything before we can stop her. The lawsuit is frivolous and will be dismissed, but the damage is already done. Can we stop her? Not fast enough. The press release is out there. The narrative is set. By the time we correct the record, your business will be destroyed. I hung up and just sat there as my phone continued to explode with notifications. Hate mail. Angry messages from people who believed Patricia's lies. Reporters asking for comments. My life was being destroyed in real time, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. Patricia had threatened to burn everything down if I didn't keep paying, and now she was doing exactly that. Monday morning, I woke up to find protesters outside my house. Somehow overnight, Patricia's story had gone viral on social media. People believed her completely. They saw a wealthy CEO and a struggling mother, and they picked their side. I couldn't leave my house without being filmed and yelled at. Someone threw eggs at my car. A news van was parked across the street. But then my phone rang. It was Carolyn Fletcher. Get to my office now, she said. Back entrance. I found something big. I waited until the news van left for a bathroom break, then slipped out and drove to Carolyn's office in Virginia Highland. She had papers spread across her conference table. Patricia's been living a double life, Carolyn said. For the past 6 years, she's been claiming to be a single mother on government assistance applications. She's been receiving welfare benefits, food stamps, housing assistance, all while living with Gerald and receiving his income. That's fraud. Federal fraud. She collected over $70,000 in benefits she wasn't entitled to. I have copies of her applications where she claimed Gerald wasn't living with her, where she falsified income information, everything. More than that, Carolyn continued, pulling out another folder. Gerald's embezzlement case is further along than we thought. The DA is ready to indict. It's happening this week. Gerald's looking at 3 to 5 years. Dos Patricia no? She has to, which explains why she's so desperate. She needs money for Gerald's defense attorney, and she probably wants cash reserves in case she needs to flee if things go really bad. My phone buzzed. It was Dylan. Need to see you. Emergency. It's about the recordings. We met at a parking deck downtown, somewhere with no cameras. Dylan looked terrified. Mom found my backup phone, he said. The one I was using to record. She knows I've been documenting everything. What did she do? She deleted what she could, but most of it's on the cloud. But Harrison, she lost it. She smashed my laptop, went through all my stuff. She knows I'm helping you. Are you safe? I don't know. She was screaming about betrayal. about how I destroyed the family. Emma heard everything and demanded to know what Mom was talking about. So I told her. I told her everything. About you being thrown out at 13. About the extortion. About the fake daughter story. All of it. How did Emma react? She's devastated. She had no idea. Mom told her you abandoned us, that you were cruel, that you wanted nothing to do with your family. Emma believed her. Now Emma knows Mom has been lying about everything. Where's Emma now? At the house with Mom. But Emma's packing. She said she can't stay there anymore. Dylan pulled out his phone and played me another recording. This one was from this morning. Patricia's voice was shrill, angry, desperate. In the recording, Patricia was on the phone with someone, probably Gerald's lawyer. She was discussing her strategy for the lawsuit against me. But then she said something damning. Even if we lose in court, I've already destroyed him publicly. That's the real goal. By the time the truth comes out, his business will be dead and nobody will care about the details anymore. She was admitting the lawsuit was just a weapon to destroy my reputation. She knew she'd lose eventually, but she didn't care. There's more, Dylan said. He played another recording from a few days earlier. This one was Patricia talking to Gerald about forging my email address for the threatening messages. She gave explicit instructions on how to make it look real, how to create a false digital trail. Gerald's voice on the recording was hesitant, uncomfortable, but Patricia pushed him. And then Dylan played the most damaging recording of all. It was from yesterday, after Patricia filed the lawsuit. She was talking to someone on the phone, probably a friend, bragging about her strategy. She laughed about the fake consultation fees claim. She said, quote, "Harrison is an idiot. He paid me $250,000 just because I scared him a little. Imagine how much more I could get if I really turn up the heat. This lawsuit is just the beginning. I'm going to bleed him for years." She admitted everything. The extortion. The false claims. The entire scheme. Dylan, this is incredible. This proves everything. I know. But Harrison, I'm scared. Mom knows I betrayed her. What if she tries to hurt me or Emma? Where are you staying tonight? I don't know. Maybe a friend's place. I gave him cash for a motel room. Stay somewhere Mom can't find you. I'm going to take these recordings to my lawyer right now. We're ending this today. I drove straight to Raymond Torres's office. He listened to the recordings with a detective from the Financial Crimes Unit who he'd brought in. The detective's eyes widened as Patricia's voice confessed to multiple felonies. "We have enough to arrest her right now," the detective said. "Extortion, fraud, conspiracy, interstate wire fraud if any of these communications cross state lines. This is a slam dunk case." "What about the welfare fraud?" I asked. "That's federal. I'll need to bring in the FBI. But yeah, she's looking at serious prison time. When can you move?" "Today. I'll get the warrants drawn up. We'll pick her up this afternoon." "What about Gerald?" "Already have a warrant for him on the embezzlement charges. We can execute both warrants simultaneously." Raymond turned to me. "You need to be prepared for Patricia to make one last desperate move. Once she realizes she's about to be arrested, she might try something extreme." "Like what?" "I don't know. But people with nothing left to lose are dangerous. Stay somewhere safe until this is over." But I didn't listen. I went home to wait. I wanted to be there when they arrested Patricia. I wanted to see her face when her entire scheme collapsed. Around 4 in the afternoon, I heard sirens. 2 police cars pulled up in front of my house. The detective I'd met earlier knocked on my door with a uniformed officer. "We're here to arrest Patricia Davis," the detective said. "Is she inside?" "Guest room upstairs." They went up with me following. Patricia was on her phone when we walked in. She looked up and saw the officers, and for the first time since this started, I saw fear in her eyes. "Patricia Davis, you're under arrest for extortion, fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy." The detective began reading her rights as the officer handcuffed her. "This is a mistake," Patricia said. "Harrison, tell them this is a mistake." I said nothing. I just watched. "You can't do this," Patricia screamed as they led her out. "I'm his mother. Harrison, you can't let them do this. Please." Her voice faded as they took her downstairs and outside. News cameras caught everything. The same news vans that had filmed protesters at my house Now filmed Patricia being put in the back of a police car. My phone rang. It was Raymond. Gerald was just arrested at a gas station in Marietta. Both of them are in custody. It's over, Harrison. But it didn't feel over. Not yet. That evening, Emma showed up at my door. Her eyes were red from crying. She had a suitcase with her. I didn't know, she said. I swear I didn't know what she was doing to you. She told me you were the bad guy. She said you abandoned us. I know. It's not your fault. Can I stay here tonight? I don't have anywhere else to go. Of course. Emma came in and sat on my couch, looking lost. Dylan arrived an hour later. Both of them looked like they'd been through a war. What's going to happen to Mom? Emma asked. Raymond said she'd likely be offered a plea deal. She was looking at multiple felony charges and significant prison time. The district attorney's office wanted to avoid a lengthy trial. And Dad? Gerald's embezzlement case was simpler. He'd probably take a plea too. Both of them were facing years in prison. Emma started crying. Dylan put his arm around her. I'm sorry, I said. I know she's still your mother. She destroyed our lives, Emma said through tears. Everything we thought we knew was a lie. She's been stealing from us, lying to us, using us. And I found out today that she's been taking money from my savings account. $12,000 I earned from working at Target. She just took it. Emma pulled out her phone. I want to press charges too, she said to me. She stole from me. I want her to pay for that. We called the detective and added Emma's theft claim to the case against Patricia. It was just one more charge in a growing list, but it mattered to Emma. It was her way of taking back some control. That night, the three of us sat in my living room, too wired to sleep. We ordered pizza and talked about what came next. Emma and Dylan's college acceptances were still valid. Their real financial aid packages were still available. I told them I'd help cover whatever the scholarships and grants didn't cover. You don't have to do that, Dylan said. I want to. You two deserve a future. Your mother tried to use you as props, but you're not responsible for what she did. You're victims too. Emma looked at me. Why are you being nice to us? After everything? Because you're not her. You made the choice to do the right thing, even though it was hard. That takes courage. Around midnight, Raymond called with an update. Patricia had been formally charged with 7 felonies. Gerald had been charged with embezzlement and conspiracy. Both had been denied bail because they were considered flight risks. They'd be held pending trial. Raymond also had more news. He'd filed an emergency motion to dismiss Patricia's frivolous lawsuit against my company. Given her arrest and the evidence of her fraud, the judge had agreed to an expedited hearing. The lawsuit would likely be thrown out within a week, and the press was already correcting their stories. Once the arrest details came out, the narrative flipped. The same reporters who'd portrayed Patricia as a sympathetic mother now ran pieces about her history of extortion and fraud. Public opinion shifted dramatically. My phone started getting apology messages from people who'd believed Patricia's lies. My business reviews started recovering as people deleted their angry posts. Trevor called to say 2 of the clients who'd dropped us wanted to discuss returning. But I felt no satisfaction in Patricia's downfall. I just felt tired and empty. 3 months later, the world looked completely different. Patricia took a plea deal. She pleaded guilty to extortion, fraud, and welfare fraud. The judge sentenced her to 4 years in prison with the possibility of parole after 2. She was also ordered to pay full restitution, which included the $250,000 she'd extorted from me, plus damages for defamation and emotional distress. Raymond didn't think I'd see much of that money after her legal fees. But the judgment mattered. Gerald took his own plea deal for embezzlement and received 3 years. Their house in Marietta was foreclosed. Their marriage dissolved through divorce papers filed from jail. My Aunt Jennifer came forward and pressed charges related to her extortion from 5 years ago. Patricia's sentence was extended by another 18 months. Patricia had systematically destroyed her own life through greed and cruelty. But more importantly, the truth came out publicly. News outlets ran corrective stories detailing Patricia's pattern of fraud and extortion. My business reputation recovered. Marcus Webb personally called to apologize and reinstated our contract with even better terms, saying he admired how I'd handled the crisis once he knew the full story. New clients reached out. A Forbes writer did a profile piece on my journey from abandoned child to successful entrepreneur. The publicity actually helped my company grow. Emma started at Emory University in the fall. She was studying psychology with a minor in social work. She wanted to understand family dynamics and help other people who'd survived toxic relationships. Dylan thrived at Georgia Tech, studying mechanical engineering. Both lived in student housing and came to my place for dinner once a month. We weren't exactly siblings in the traditional sense. Too much time and trauma had passed for that. But we were building something new, a relationship based on mutual respect and shared survival. Emma told me once that I was the first person in her life who kept promises and followed through. That meant more to me than any business success. Jade and I took months to rebuild our relationship. She apologized for doubting me, but I understood why she had. Patricia's lies had been convincing. Jade did her own research during our time apart and found my childhood records through a friend who worked in social services. She knew I'd been telling the truth. We started over slowly. Coffee dates, long walks, honest conversations about trust and fear. 6 months after Patricia's arrest, I proposed to Jade at the same coffee shop where we'd first met. She said yes. We got married in a small ceremony the following spring with Emma and Dylan in attendance. Trevor was my best man. I established the Second Chance Initiative, a foundation for kids aging out of foster care. We provided housing assistance, job training, college scholarships, and business mentorship. In the first year, we helped 53 young people who'd been in similar situations to mine. Watching them succeed felt like reclaiming something Patricia had tried to take from me. I spoke at foster care fundraisers and business conferences, sharing my story publicly. I'd spent years carrying shame about being abandoned, about being poor, about having to fight for everything. Patricia's attack forced me to confront that shame head-on. In doing so, I realized I had nothing to be ashamed of. My story wasn't about being abandoned. It was about surviving and thriving despite every obstacle. I wasn't a victim. I was a testament to resilience. One evening in late spring, I was sitting on my porch watching the sunset with Jade. The same porch where Patricia had stood months earlier demanding money and threatening destruction. That moment felt like it had happened in another lifetime. My phone rang. The caller ID showed it was from a prison. Patricia was calling. I looked at the phone for a long moment. Jade touched my hand. "Are you going to answer?" I thought about the 13-year-old boy who would have done anything for his mother's love, who believed he wasn't enough, that he'd somehow failed her. I thought about how many years I'd carried that weight. Then I thought about the man I'd become. Someone who'd built a successful business from nothing. Someone who was using his resources to help other people who'd been abandoned like he was. Someone who had real family now. People who showed up and proved their love through actions. I declined the call. Then I blocked the number. "Some doors are meant to stay closed," I said to Jade. She squeezed my hand. We sat together watching the sky turn orange and pink, neither of us needing to fill the silence. A few days later, I got a letter from Patricia. It had been screened by the prison staff before being sent to me. In it, she apologized. She said she was sorry for abandoning me, sorry for the extortion, sorry for everything. She said she'd been desperate and made terrible choices. She asked if I could forgive her. I read the letter 3 times, looking for sincerity. But even her apology felt manipulative, like she was setting up her next play. Maybe I was being unfair. Maybe prison had genuinely changed her. But I didn't owe her the benefit of the doubt. I threw the letter away without responding. Emma asked me about it when she came for dinner the next week. "Did you answer Mom's letter?" "No." "Are you going to?" "I don't think so." Emma nodded slowly. "I don't talk to her either. She writes me every week, but I don't read them. Dylan doesn't either." "Do you think that makes us bad people?" I asked. "No. I think it makes us people who are protecting ourselves. She taught me that love shouldn't hurt this much. Real family doesn't destroy you." She was right. I'd spent my whole life thinking family was something owed, something you had to accept regardless of how you were treated. But family was actually something earned, through loyalty, respect, and genuine care. Trevor was more of a brother to me than anyone blood-related. Carolyn became a trusted friend. Dylan and Emma chose integrity over blind loyalty. Jade showed me what partnership really meant. I learned that some people are so broken they destroy everything good around them. But I also learned that you can't fix people who don't want to be fixed. And you don't owe loyalty to people who betrayed you first. The strongest thing I ever did wasn't building $1 million company. It was walking away from someone who only saw me as a resource to exploit. It was choosing peace over guilt. It was recognizing that Patricia's inability to love me said everything about her and nothing about my worth. One afternoon I was working in my office when Emma called. She sounded excited. "I got an A on my psychology paper," she said. It was about family systems and cycles of abuse. Professor said it was one of the best papers she'd read. "That's incredible, Emma. I wrote about us, about what Mom did, and how we broke the cycle by choosing differently, how we're building something better." After we hung up, I sat at my desk thinking about cycles and choices. Patricia had probably been damaged by her own childhood. Gerald had his own demons. Hurt people, as the saying goes. But at some point, you have to choose to stop the cycle. You have to choose to be better than what was done to you. Emma and Dylan made that choice. So did I. I didn't wish Patricia ill. I didn't celebrate her imprisonment. I just released her from any power over my life. She was a chapter in my story, but not the author of it. That summer, the Second Chance Initiative hosted its first annual gala. We raised over $1 million for foster youth programs. I gave a speech about my journey and watched young people in the audience see themselves in my story. After the speech, a 17-year-old girl approached me. She'd aged out of foster care 6 months earlier and was working 3 jobs while trying to save for community college. "Your story gave me hope," she said. "I thought I was the only one who felt so alone." "You're not alone," I told her. "And I can help." We enrolled her in our program. 6 months later, she was attending community college with a full scholarship. She sent me a text on her first day of classes. "Thank you for seeing me. That's what I'd needed when I was 13. Someone to see me, to believe I was worth investing in. I couldn't change my past, but I could change someone else's future." On a quiet Tuesday evening, I found myself back on my porch with Jade. We did this often now, just sitting together as the day ended. It had become our ritual. "Do you ever regret it?" Jade asked. "Not taking the easy path with Patricia? You could have just paid her and avoided all the pain." "No," I said, "because paying her wouldn't have made the pain go away. It would have just delayed it and made it worse. She would have come back again and again. I would have been trapped forever. You're free now." "Yeah, I am." And I was. Not because Patricia was in prison, but because I'd released myself from the need for her approval, her acknowledgement, her apology. I didn't need anything from her. My life was full without her. That was the real victory. Not revenge, not punishment. Freedom. I thought about that 13-year-old boy sleeping in a youth shelter, wondering what he'd done wrong, why he wasn't enough for his mother to keep. I wished I could go back and tell him, "It was never about you. You are enough. You always were. And one day, you'll build something beautiful from all this pain." I couldn't change what happened to that boy, but I could honor him by building a life worth living, by helping other kids like him, by choosing kindness when I could have chosen bitterness, by proving that your beginning doesn't determine your ending. Patricia thought family was about biology and obligation. She thought she could use those bonds to manipulate and control. But she was wrong. Family is about showing up. It's about proving your love through actions, not demanding it through guilt. It's about building people up instead of tearing them down. It's about being there when things are hard, not just when things are easy. Trevor proved that. Carolyn proved that. Dylan and Emma proved that. Jade proved that. They were my real family. As the sun set over Atlanta, painting the sky in shades of gold and purple, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Not happiness exactly, but something deeper. Contentment. The knowledge that I'd fought the right fight and come out the other side intact. My phone stayed silent. No more threats. No more manipulation. No more fear. Just the quiet evening and the woman I loved beside me, and the knowledge that tomorrow I'd wake up and continue building something good. That was enough. That was everything. I looked at Jade. "Ready to go inside?" She smiled. "Yeah. Let's go home." We stood up and walked to the door together. I paused for just a moment. looking back at the empty porch. The place where this whole nightmare had started. The place where Patricia had stood demanding money and threatening destruction. But it was just a porch now. Just wood and brick and railings. The memory had lost its power. I closed the door behind us, locking it firmly. Inside, our home was warm and filled with light. Music played softly from the kitchen. Tomorrow, Dylan and Emma were coming for dinner. Trevor and his wife were stopping by on the weekend. Life moved forward. I learned that success isn't just about money or business achievements. It's about building a life with people who genuinely care about you. People who prove their love through loyalty and presence, not words and demands. I learned that you can survive things you think will destroy you. That you can take the worst pain and transform it into purpose. That you can break cycles that have lasted generations. Most importantly, I learned that I spent 22 years wondering why I wasn't enough for my mother to keep. But now I know the truth. It was never about me. Some people are so broken inside, they destroy everything good around them. But I'm not broken. I'm here. I'm happy. I'm free. And that's more than she'll ever be. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved because staying was destroying you? Have you ever had to choose between loyalty and your own well-being? It's one of the hardest decisions anyone can make. Drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts. Your story might help someone else who's struggling with the same choice. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future stories about resilience, survival, and triumph over adversity. And share this video with someone who needs to hear that they're not alone, that their past doesn't define their future, and that it's okay to walk away from toxicity, even when it wears the face of family. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope wherever you are right now, you're choosing yourself, protecting your peace, and building a life filled with people who genuinely love you. Take care of yourself. You deserve it.